Hello everyone, and welcome back to the 45th Annual Sun and Fun International Fly-In and Expo here at Lakeland Linder Regional Airport. I'm Ben Coleman, one of your many hosts here for the Florida Aviation Network. It's a pleasure to be here to introduce you to exciting programs, exciting people, exciting performers, manufacturers, suppliers, vendors, guests. It's just a wonderful place to be, and if you're not here, we need to get you here. It's a great venue, and it's from the 2nd to the 7th. We got a full week that you can manage to navigate your way to Lakeland, and all of these programs are presented with the thumb on safety. Aviation safety is so critical and paramount in this industry, and it is woven through every thread of activity here at the Sun and Fun campus and at the Central Florida Aerospace Academy, which is right across the street. And the Florida Air Museum is the building that houses all the Aerospace Center for Excellence activity. And we have some gentlemen here, Mr. Ed Young and Mr. Charles Stites. Ed, welcome.
Thank you.
Here you're promoting ACE, and that's Aerospace Center for Excellence.
That's right. The Aerospace Center for Excellence is actually the 17 buildings that are on the south end of the Sun and Fun Expo campus. And so we actually have 17 different structures that support our mission. And we are in the Aerospace Discovery at the Florida Air Museum. And you see that wonderful set of engines that are right in front of us. We use those both at the Central Florida Aerospace Academy and also for Travis Technical College, which is teaching the A&P programs in the Crossfield building, which is another one of the ACE buildings.
Wow, Ed, you seem to be such a pro at this. You've been doing this for 20, 25 years?
About 6 months.
6 months, okay, so it's fresh rote memory coming back on us here.
It's one of those things that when you absolutely love what you're doing every single day, it's easy to figure out what you're doing and how you're supposed to do it, and then to continuously make improvements to the process that we've had.
It's not like work, is it?
It is not work.
It's kind of fun.
It's not work, and in fact, until yesterday, trying to put the tent, the dome top, the net on the drone zone, I had not worked a day in the last 6 months. That was actually work.
That's
but for the rest of this has been great.
Particularly in a breeze.
And after the downpour.
Ed, we're ignoring somebody else that's here on our set, Mr. Charles Stites with Able Flight. Charles, tell us, why in the world are you and Ed up here together? Kind of look like a partnership going on. What's going on?
Well, partnership is the right word. Able Flight is a nonprofit that provides flight training scholarships to people with physical disabilities, including paraplegics, quadriplegics, wounded veterans. And we've been doing that for quite a while. We train people through our scholarship program at Purdue University and the Ohio State University for the last 12 years. We've been very successful in getting a lot of people licensed. And now we've partnered with ACE to be able to provide flight training year-round through our program, because at the universities we do it at the summer, during their summer break. And now we have an opportunity to do it here on the campus at Lakeland Linder through ACE. And it's wonderful. It was an initiative that they came to us and asked if we would be interested in doing that, and it's moved along very quickly.
Well, Charles, with the challenged pilots, if you will, is there an age category or bracket, or what? Where do you find yourself concentrating most of your time as far as your recipients of the scholarships?
Well, I would say of the 70 that are already licensed, they probably break down where most fall under 30 years old, but we've had pilots that are close to 60. What we look for, and again, we're a scholarship program that works with training partners, so what we look for is someone that would really benefit from the opportunity, that is going to change their life. So we don't put an age limit on it. But we do like to see a lot of young folks come through the program, and because they're going to be in aviation a lot longer, and it has the potential for this lifelong effect on them. And so we encourage applicants from all ages, but we love to see those applications come in from people in their late teens and early 20s.
Good. And Ed, what does ACE do to assist Able Flight?
Well, the great part about the facility that we have here is that we actually have summer camps that run through the summer. So when they're training at Ohio State or Purdue, that's when our summer camps are going on. But when school is back in session at the universities, we actually have dormitories and we have facilities that are accessible. And so we can train during those periods of time, and a student can come to us, and in about 7 weeks, we can actually help them become a light sport pilot. The other part of it is that we received another sponsorship, or we've started another partnership at this time with Zenith. And Zenith has provided us a kit, which we uncrated earlier today. We had about 30 students in the museum here starting to uncrate the Zenith 750, which will actually be built partially in the Restoration Center, the Bueller Restoration Center, which is right next door, partially with the help from our partners over at the Central Florida Aerospace Academy, the Lakeland Aero Club, and also Travis College will help us put that aircraft together with the special assistive controls, and those young people will have the opportunity to get real life loggable A&P type experience putting that plane together. And at the same time, we're going to be providing a long-term service for the folks at Able Flight and helping those folks change their life through aviation like we've changed so many other young people's lives on this campus.
Well, and Ed, that's a great background and bio for what's going on here, but alterations to the aircraft, because sometimes we need to make some changes if folks are having either problems with their flippers, problems with their feet, maybe some leg issues. Who works with you on that physical, structural change that's required?
So the great part is that Zenith has actually put together a couple of aircraft with the assistance of former Able Flight, or their current Able Flight pilots. They received the scholarship. So Zenith has actually worked with those folks to start to understand and develop the kinds of controls that are necessary. And so Charles actually does a little better job of explaining the alterations that are necessary. The nice part is that the certified flight instructor really is just acting like they're training any other person. But like I said, Charles can give you a little more detail on those control changes.
Well, we've been using adapted aircraft for 12 years. We've been using the Italian design Skyro 600, Flight Design CT, other aircraft where people were forward thinking and coming up with these controls. And then when a couple of our pilots who use wheelchairs wanted an airplane that they could put a wheelchair into as well, once they got their license, they wanted, like any other pilot, buy an airplane. They talked to Zenith, and Zenith came up with the set of hand controls, and just by the good fortune of how that design is already set up, it had room behind the seats for a wheelchair as an LSA. So what they did is come up with a second stick that controls rudder, and on that stick is a brake handle, and there's an option actually for a servo controlled throttle, electronic throttle. And that's the option that ACE has gone with. So they'll have the two sticks, so you're replacing what you would do with your feet with the other hand. And that's the way our pilots have already been training. But Zenith has come up with their own configuration, which works really well. We trained 2 students in a Zenith last year at Ohio State. So it's already proven itself. We're going to use that airplane again there this year, starting in next month in May.
Well, you know what, I can't help but mention what not only a challenge it is from your perspective, but what a reward it is from your perspective when you see this come together, because normally if for those challenged and those in a wheelchair, legs aren't working, feet aren't working, or something, that I can only imagine the immense feeling of freedom and the change in their life by being able to actually get behind the controls of an airplane.
Well, Ben, that's really something I talk about quite a bit, which is that early on with Able Flight, when I founded the organization, I was using the word challenge a lot, which you just did very appropriately, but the pilots immediately started talking about the freedom. And the sense that when you're in the airplane, you're just another pilot.
That's right.
You're not a pilot with a disability, you're a pilot. No one on the radio knows any difference, no air traffic controller. You have to pass the same test that any other pilot passes.
You meet the same standards.
And meet the same standards. So it's a level playing field. And Ed pointed out earlier that the instructors teach as they do any other student. And that's something we talk to the instructors about early on, is You don't treat someone differently because they happen to have a physical disability. You may be able to accommodate one thing or another, like to help with the transfer into an airplane if they use a wheelchair. A lot of our pilots are veterans who have their amputees. They can do their own transfer into the airplane like anyone else. So you just treat everybody individually, but when it comes to flying, they're a student pilot and then they become a pilot.
Wow, it's just it's got to be an immense, well, again, challenge not only for those who have physical abilities, but for the folks who are trying to help them overcome and become one with the airman crew. The aircraft itself, like I said, it all it knows is input, and I can only wonder about where this goes to, how those that you help impact others that will look at them as, well, if they can do it with what they have going on, why can't I do this? So we're trying to encourage more people to come into aviation, and I see this as just one of the gateways, if you will, of getting more people involved.
And this is really that's the mission statement, vision, everything about ACE fits with this program. What we talk about is that we engage, educate, and accelerate the next generation of aviation professionals. And even if you're older, you still become a professional in this craft. It doesn't matter if you're flying your family, that's probably the time you should be the most professional, or you're flying, with 200 people sitting behind you for one of the airlines. So that's why this fits so well, because what we're doing is we're looking at a person and we're helping that person engage, we're educating them, and then we're accelerating them into the next phase of their life, which is I have the freedom to fly where I want to, I have the freedom to be a member of the pilot community. You're accelerating them in a way that says, yes, you are a professional, and you'll behave like a professional, and you'll be judged like a professional, and that's where we want them to be.
When I mentioned this one young lady's name, he knows where I'm going. Charles sees it. Jessica Cox. When you see what Jessica can do, I mean, that's phenomenal. And that's what, whenever I hear somebody say, well, I could never do that. Oh, really? Really? How about if you didn't have any arms?
Well, it's interesting you mentioned Jessica because she is one of our pilots. We helped her with a scholarship. She started out on her own, trying to do it by herself, and hit some roadblocks. When we got in touch, she applied for a scholarship. Obviously, we awarded her one. She was a great candidate, and she proved that our faith was well-founded. And then she stayed actively involved in Able Flight since. As a matter of fact, I've had a couple of candidates for scholarships that live near her, and she's interviewed them for us. Who better, frankly? And she's an outstanding example of what a person can do. But we have a gentleman, Randy Green, that is a video on our website. He flies now for a living. Randy was born without hands or feet. He uses prosthetic feet. He does not use prosthetic hands. And he has a first-class medical. We gave him his ATP certificate and a King Air 300 series type rating.
Wow.
And now he's the chief pilot for a mapping operation. There are many stories like this. We have quite a few veterans who've done very well. This year we just awarded 10 scholarships. And of those 10, 5 are to veterans, which is the highest number we've had in a single year. But they're people who they want the opportunity, and we provide a pathway, and then they do the work, and it's hard work.
Charles and Ed, and I hate to mention this, but it's on the back of my mind, and our viewers are probably also asking, where does the funding come for these scholarships? Who do we thank for being, unselfish with their funds, to put it in different words?
Well, many of those folks are right here at Sun and Fun, and I really should have a cheat sheet in front of me so that I don't leave anyone out.
Just a sampling.
But I can tell you that these are companies that people have heard of. It's Shell Aviation, it's Gulf Coast Avionics, it is ForeFlight. We have them all listed on the sponsors page on our website. There's actually about 15 of them.
So it's a pool. It's a group of.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in terms of building this particular airplane, Zenith has of course been a great partner, and Gulf Coast Avionics is going to put the avionics in. We are still looking for an engine.
I have an engine off of a CB I could offer you, but I don't think that would fit.
No, but we are still actively in pursuit of that particular sponsorship for this aircraft.
Okay, I got a feeling you're going to be successful if with what you've been able to accomplish up to this point. I have no doubt.
In a relatively short period of time, too. So that's the great part about the reputation that Able Flight has, is that we've really been able to get quite a lot done in a pretty short period of time, because all we have to do is mention the name and what we intend to accomplish, and they've done so much over the course of time. And of course, so is ACE, and so is Sun and Fun in terms of this being our biggest fundraiser. Sun and Fun is the biggest fundraiser for the Aerospace Center for Excellence. So having that behind you makes it a whole lot easier when you're going out and asking folks for stuff.
Well, and really it's, and the folks that have the means and the ability to help, all you got to do is ask. They don't take any exception to it. And, you know, some of them, they might say, well, we don't have the budget this year, but thanks for letting me know, because now we'll put it in the budget for next year.
Well, it's ask and also perform. That's one of the great things about the legacy that I've inherited here at ACE, is that we have 91 teenage pilots. So just teenagers and tail draggers, a lot of them. You know, and we have kids that fly up to, I say kids, but you know, as soon as you're on the radio, you're not a kid anymore, you're a professional. We have a number of our young folks who have flown up to Oshkosh every year for the last several years. I mean, we've produced the results that are necessary to keep going back and asking. And if you can ask the same person over again, it means you're doing something right, because you are producing.
Well, Ed, it's really all relative, because kids to me used to be 10 years old. Now anybody under 50 is a kid. So,
Touche.
Speaking of yourself, Ed, what's your flight career? What do you do?
I'm a CFI, but I'm actually, it's funny that Charles and I were having that conversation on the way over here, because I'm actually an attorney, and started out in public management, managing airports, and then I was appointed the director of aviation for the state of Kansas. So I had an opportunity to spend 8 years working with Garmin and Cessna and Textron and Bombardier and all of those folks to help Kansas stay the incredible aviation state that it is, and just have an absolute undying passion for aviation. And so it's been really great to step into this particular role. I just can't think of anything better to do. I've only worked, like I said, 1 day out of the 6 months that I've been here. And that's the view from my office. The Florida Aviation Museum, Aerospace Discovery, is the view from my office. So anytime I hear somebody rattling one of our STEM games and they can't quite figure it out, I get to walk out of my office and go play a game for a little while, you know, teaching somebody about lift and drag and Newton's laws. So I was also a professor at K-State University. So it's one of those things that this is definitely in the blood.
Well, you're hooked. I mean, I'm sorry. Sorry to hear that. It was nice, but you got it in the blood, so you've done it. You mentioned STEAM or STEM. I want to mention STEAM, and it's so important that we do recognize that aviation and the aerospace industry, if you will, really has a lot of art involved with it.
Well, and I'm actually glad that you mentioned it, because this is the first year our Stratus students, which you'll interview on Saturday, someone will interview on Saturday, this was the first year that it was an art and leadership competition. And so they actually had to qualify. The ultimate goal from the Stratus Squadron 5 will be a flight with Lee Louderback, the highest time Mustang pilot in the world, on Sunday. So in order to win the right to receive that flight training, they had to enter both an essay and also a piece of art. And it stretched a lot of these kids. But some of their art is in the in-flight guide. It's great. And we were talking about NASA and all of the art that inspires us. When you look at the pictures of the galaxy and the universe, and even the picture looking back at the Earth, those are things that caused innovation to happen. They excited people. They drove towards kids being interested in math and science and engineering, and that's where we need to have our students develop, is in those areas. And so the opportunity to enter that art side of it is really, it's really very special, and I think it really does create that next generation of professionals, because it does inspire them.
Well, another kind of a tie-in for the art aspect of it is music. There's a very, very similar parallel thread of musicians and aviators, and it's the attention to detail. You strike a note on the staff, and it's a little flat, that's going to irritate the heck out of you. You're flying along at 3,000 550 feet, you're supposed to be at 3,500 feet. Come on, let's get on the note, you know. So there's a lot of similarities there of memorization skills and just attention to detail, and that's the artistic side of it, I believe.
Well, and I've always said that in terms of my career as a CFI, some of the students that I've had the best luck with belong to or musicians because they learn to work with their feet at a relatively young age. Mm-hmm. A lot of people have a very hard time separating their feet and their hands, and the best rudder people tend to have some musical background.
And Manfred Radius, he does a dance in the air with his sailplane. Literally, it's a dance. So, folks, I can't tell you how much it's been informative to me to learn about Able Flight and its relationship with ACE. So thank you so much for joining us here.
Appreciate the
Thank you for having us.
And I'm going to stretch over. This just drives Toby too crazy.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And sorry to grab you with my claw there.
Oh, that's all right.
Are you bleeding?
No, I'm good.
Okay, good. All right, guys. Ben Coleman, one of your hosts here, and we're going to sign off on this one, but we're going to look forward to talking to you at other interviews in the near future. Take care.